In my last video, we dealt with random colors, but these were colors that we entered the codes for. There are also some handy color constants that we can use. For example, this is the old project here. Let me just give an example. Let's say we want royal blue, maybe. Blue. My God, my spelling is terrible. Of type color. We don't need to put all these, but I'm just doing it out of completeness. And when we type in the word color, if we just put a dot after it, you will see all these different colors come up. There are about 146 different colors, counting transparent. So let's just start typing royal, R-O-Y, and we've got royal blue, and we can choose that. So that's what this video is about. It's quite convenient, but if I try to make a list of these colors, it's extremely difficult. This is the current chart of the color constants that you can use, like I showed in the last screen. There is 146 in all. That's if you include transparent. If you notice, when we did our array, to get a random color from this array, we had to write random value, rand I, color array, size, and so on. It would have been nice if we were able to get all 146 color constants so that we can write a random script. But for some reason, GDScript doesn't allow you to enumerate or even list these colors. So I had to find a workaround. In order to do that, I had to switch from the usual Godot engine to the Godot engine that has mono attached to it, so we can use .NET. I had to do some extensive research to find out why Godot could not have got these constants on their own. We have to use something called reflection to get these colors, which is available in GDScript but not in depth as it is in other languages like in C#. Thankfully, C# can be used in the Godot engine in the stable mono version of Godot. So basically, this is a summary of what you can get with reflection in Godot as opposed to C#. And you can see that you can't access certain properties in GDScript, but you can in C#. So we have to use something to bridge the color constants so that we can access it in GDScript in order to create a list of the color constants so that we can actually choose a random color if we want to. So let's get into it. Create a project screen similar to this. It doesn't have to be the same, but I use a Colors.red like before and a button. The label is just there to say what we're doing in the screen, not necessary. So we can just do Colors.red and a button, and we'll get cracking. Because we have the Godot engine with the stable mono now, we can right click inside a file system and you can create a script anywhere. When you open the create script dialog, you'll see at the top here it says GDScript. If you click that, you can see C#. If this was not the stable mono version of Godot, you would not see the C# option in here. There will only be GDScript. Let's give it a name. Call it color bridge. Save it. And we can double click the color bridge at the bottom left hand in the file system. And there we go. As you notice, there's a using Godot, because this is meant to be a helper file which can be accessible to the actual Godot GDScript as well. So we have to use using Godot. Using system, that's an internal that's an internal import. Using just means import. That's an internal import so that the script can use the system libraries. We need one more. Using system dot reflection And don't forget your semicolon. This is a different language now, so you have to follow its own syntax. And we're going to call this, this is a public partial class color bridge, which extends a Godot's node. The partial word here, sometimes you have auto-generated code that is created in the background of Godot. This is included internally in the Godot engine. And it's part of the engine that we don't see working. All we see is what we write here. And what that means is it's needed for the proper running of the game or program that we are trying to use the code for. So we use the partial class. Also, you can use this partial keyword to split the code into different parts, and during compilation the code becomes one for the different parts. It's used for many different reasons. You can always look up partial on your own and see what it really means and what's the importance of using a partial class. It's just a few lines of code, but it's a new language, so I'm going to try to point out a little more what different parts mean. So let's just press enter. Start typing. This is one of the constructors. Public static Godot dot collections dot array of type color and we're going to call this get all color constants. That's my cat. I touched her tail when she passed too close. Let me just widen this so we can see what we're doing. We make it a public static function so that it can be accessible, easily accessible to the rest of the code, including the GDScript. Also, this is a type of Godot collections array of type color. It's going to return a type of collection array of type colors, which we can access from get all color constants. And let's press enter. And the next open and close bracket. Enter again. We're starting a new function here. var results or result is equal to new, same thing, Godot dot collection dot array of type color. Yes, this is just going to return the resultant array. New line for our properties. These next few lines are just going to tell, we're going to use this variable to extract only specific values from the color constants that we are extracting from the Godot colors. So this is how we type it. It's a type of colors. And we're going to get properties. And the properties that we want to get are, we use something called binding flags. We only want public, and we're going to use the pipe signal, the pipe symbol, sorry, binding flags. Dot static. That's because the color constants are both public and static. If you realize when we type it in Godot, after we type in color dot, you'll see that it comes up easily, and they're static, meaning they're constants. So we only want public and constants, or public and static as it's called. Don't forget semicolon. And now we're going to go loop through it. We're going to use a for each loop for var, and we're just going to use an arbitrary name. You can use anything here, but prop is easy to remember, or you can just put property. So you can say property in properties, but you can just use short prop in properties. So for each value or each iteration in properties, we are going to run open close brackets if the property type, sorry, that's capital T, T-Y-P-E, yes, is a type of color we want to open close brackets get the color value, well, we name it color value, name it color value, we call it color value, cast it to a type of color, and the property, well, the property that we just found, the most recent one, we're going to get the value and null, comma, null. I'll explain this in a bit. Don't forget your colon, semicolon. And we're going to add this to the result, because the result is an array, so let's just populate the array with the latest property value. Result.add the color value that we just created there. And at the end of it all, make sure we're under the public static, right around here, just before we close this bracket at the public static, the opening of this function, right before we want to return, go back a bit, return our result when we're done going through the whole iteration for each. So therefore we have a whole list or array. In this case we have a whole array of all 146 colors, which includes transparent. If you want to remove transparent, we can always add a something inside it for each, saying if it is not transparent, if the property is not equal to transparent, then you send it to result. I'm just doing all in this case. These parameters in get value, the first parameter is asking for an object, and the second parameter is asking for an index of an object. What we are accessing here are static properties like Colors.red, which doesn't need an instance of a color. So we don't have any instance of any objects that we need to access for the first parameter, so we just put null. So, and because there's no object to operate on. And the second parameter, we're not accessing an index property like an array. In fact, we're creating one. So no index arguments are needed. So we just pass null here as well. And I must have dragged this across by mistake. So this is not supposed to be a null at the end there. It's supposed to be semicolon. And with that, we're done. Let's just save this. Control S to save. Let me minimize the screen. And let's add a script to the color constant screen. Make sure the language is GDScript, because we're going back into GDScript now. Click create. Let's get some space in there. Let's maximize the screen. What we can do here, we have different ways to approach this, but you can go into project settings, in globals, and register the color bridge as a global script. Then you don't have to type in all these extra things like onReady and those type of things. But I'm just going to do the onReady. So onReady var, let's give it a name, color bridge. So this is the bridge that the color bridge that we created in C# script. It's a reference to it, and we're going to preload. Of course, if you have it registered as a global script, you don't have to preload it. It'll be accessible to the whole program. Open, and there it is, color bridge. So as I said, we will need all of this if we're going into, and we're going to make an instance of it. So just type in new. There we go. And let's do an onReady function here as well. Sorry, ready function. You could have put this in the ready function down here as well, but preloads go better at the top when you're declaring your variables. And we're going to do variable colors just to access it again. We're going to extract it from the color bridge variable that we created. Color bridge dot get all color constants. That's the name of the function that we created inside of, where is it, the color bridge. Get all color constants. This is what we're referencing here. Go back here. So basically, whatever the result is returned when get all color constants is run, remember, return the result here. Whatever is gotten here, which is supposed to be the 146 colors in an array. We created an array. It's an array of type color. It's supposed to be populating var colors here. So this colors variable is an array. And now we just want a random color. We're just going to test it at first. Is equal to, we're going to reference the colors array, and remember it's an array, so now you can access it within square brackets like 0 or 1 or 2 up to 145. Remember, it's always one less than the full amount. It's 146. We're going to put rand I like we did in the normal random colors. The percentage. Remember why we use the modulus, the percentage, and the colors, the size of the color array, the colors array, that is. If you don't remember, you can always go back to the last explanation in the last video that I made with the random colors, normal colors, not the color constants. So we have a working function here to get a random color from the get all color constants array that we created in the color bridge. And let's just print this for now, make sure it's working. We're not going to connect the buttons yet. Random color is equal to, this is a notation to just add it in a random color. Okay, so we don't have the button, but this will run as soon as the script is run. So let's just run the script. You can click the build here to build a project. This is added since we have the stable mono part of the Godot. But when we click the run project, it builds automatically. As you can see, I build a net project. So if we look here, if we just move the game screen aside, we'll see at the bottom here there's a random color of 1, 0, whatever, and that's exactly what we wanted. We want to make sure it's working. Okay, so let's minimize this so we can get to the button now. Let's click the button. Don't forget, click node. We're going to press, and we're going to add this to color constant screen script. It's added automatically here, as you can see. There's a signal here, and this is the name of the function that is placed in here. We want to move the code from inside the ready function. Let's block it, cut it, and place it on the inside. Control V. We can remove the ready function for now. We don't need it right now. So on button pressed, it's going to get the array and then get a random color from that array and then print a color. So let's just save this and let's just run it. So if you click this now, at the bottom, let's move the screen, at the bottom underneath my graphics card here, you can just click and you'll see different colors, random colors coming up. Okay, so it's easy to apply it to the ColorX now. If you remember, just let's remove the print statement. We know it's working. And let's move the ColorX around in here. We're going to change the color, and it's equal to random color. And we're done. Let's save that and run this. And there you go. Every time you click, you're going to get a different color, different random color out of the 146 constant color constants that Godot exposes when you type color and dot in the code. So there you have it, a way to access the color constants from Godot. Even though Godot doesn't have any inbuilt functions to access these constants, you can always use C# to introspect or inspect different properties that you want access to in real time. There is a way to get the name of the colors printed here as well, but that will require changing up the function a bit. If you want to hear more about that, we use keys, we use a dictionary, and we have keys of the color name with the color value, and we use that instead, so we can actually put a label at the bottom here stating what the name of the color is as well. If you want to hear more about that, just give me a shout. Type random color constants with names in the comments, and I'll gladly do that video for you as well. See you next time, and have a good day.